Chris and Lizzie have hot-footed it to Brazil to hang out with Prince William, who's thrown his Dragon's Den-style climate change challenge.
You know, when William comes to town, people know it.
He wants to make a difference for the future generations.
With this famous face,
it would be good if it went to Australia, and I think actually the Commonwealth has a great role to play in environmental issues.
And also recreated this iconic picture of his mum. Did his brother slightly steal his thunder?
There was some raised eyebrows about the timing of that.
Andrew's back in the headlines, but this time it's with a stateside spin.
Yeah, if Harry wasn't overshadowing this trip, then Andrew was.
And why Spud Man's put the Queen to work. Hello and welcome to Talking Royals. I'm Charlene White, and it's a little bit different in the studio today, as it's just me and the wonderful Ray Mears, survivalist and broadcaster. And that's because Chris and Lizzie are in Brazil.
Hey, welcome. Hello, how are you?
Doing really well. I'd love to say that you guys look cool, calm and collected today, but I know that you were struggling in the humidity of Brazil, aren't you? Bless you.
Ray's been giving us some tips about how to survive this.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd be deep in the rainforest. That looks like a fancy hotel there. Is there a pina colada just out of sight on that table?
Unfortunately, no pina coladas. We're at a sort of botanical gardens. We're in Belém at the moment, which is known as the sort of gateway to the Amazon, and it's where COP30, the climate conference, is being held this year.
Well, that's perfect. You'll have to find the pina colada, but it does sound really lovely and tropical.
It does. It's really, really fascinating here, although a little bit chaotic. You'll see from some of the news reports over the last few days that even though COP's already underway, the building isn't, or at least it's not finished. So there's still a lot of building work going on just to make everybody welcome. But obviously COP is more than just the 2 days of the Leader Summit. It goes on for quite a few more weeks.
Now, we have a WhatsApp group, Ray, and I've been getting updates all week from Lizzie and Chris about what it is that they've been up to. One bit I'm really jealous about, and that is that you went up Christ the Redeemer, didn't you?
We did. So we started this week in Rio, where Prince William held his 5th annual Earthshot Prize awards, and he was there for 3 days, and he really did get to see the best of Rio. He was taken to all the most famous landmarks, and he went up to the site of Christ the Redeemer, and they closed it off to the public for the morning. So we went up with him, and there are parts of this job where you just stop for a minute and think, this is an amazing privilege and an honour to be able to be in some of these places and see things that you would never normally get to see. And that was one of those moments on Wednesday morning when we went up there. And then the press always get there in advance of the royal, so we were there for a couple of hours ahead of him, just going to take in those incredible, breathtaking views across Rio and obviously Christ the Redeemer itself.
Yeah, I did love the picture that you sent me, but I didn't quite know the background to it, Chris. You guys were up at silly o'clock in the morning to get your own private tour with the Prince.
Yeah, we can't complain, of course. We had quite a few early alarm clocks this week. One was to actually go into a boat inside to travel with Prince William into the mangroves, which we can talk about that later, how important the mangroves are. We often talk about the rainforest, but we went into these mangroves just next to Brazil, and Brazil has the 2nd largest number of mangrove forests in the world. It does involve a lot of alarm clocks that go off at 3:30, 4 a.m. and you think, oh, but having been up in Christ the Redeemer when it's closed off to the entire public, no complaints from us.
But the other bit that I want to say, that the picture that you sent us into the WhatsApp group, Lizzie, was the actual rainforest, which Ray will like this picture, in the actual rainforest, where you and I both know what happens with our hair, Lizzie, when we're in humid conditions, and yet you guys were with umbrellas in the rainforest. I don't believe that's the normal fare in the rainforest, Ray, is it?
No, I don't normally take an umbrella. I just get wet.
we
people
thought it was a little bit odd because it started raining and they put the umbrellas up, and we'd actually, because the Prime Minister was there with Prince William, we kind of thought, you guys just don't have an umbrella. It just looks better to get wet or stand under a tree. Standing there with London umbrellas looked a little bit strange to me.
Do you know, I really sympathise with you, because people don't realise how difficult it is to present to a camera in rainforest. It's really difficult because it affects your breathing, your heat, everything is affected.
This guy should come more often. We like you, Ray.
Whereas I'm just sat here going, I can't believe I'm in the studio and they're in Brazil. Look, there was a reason why, two reasons why you've been in Brazil. I know you started talking about it earlier, Lizzie. Of course, we've got Prince William there doing the Earthshot prize, which for those that aren't hugely aware of how it works, it's almost like a Dragon's Den style competition, sort of, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, so we're in the 5th year. William launched this in 2020. It's a 10-year plan, and we're 5 years through now. So we're reaching quite a crucial halfway mark. And there are basically, he brings 15 finalists, and then 5 of them walk away with £1 million each in different categories. I have to say that Rio just loved having him here, Prince William here, but there was such a, we went and watched the award ceremony being recorded the other day. There was such a sort of real good feeling in the room, wasn't there, about not just the Brazilian entries, of course, and one of them did win because he's replanting areas of rainforest, but there was a real good feeling here for everyone, wherever they were from in the world. And let's remember that Earthshot is a global prize, not just to do with the royal family or one particular country.
One of the big reasons William wanted to set up the Earthshot Prize, which he sees for him is sort of in the same scale as, you know, his grandfather's Duke of Edinburgh Award or his father's Prince's Trust Award. This is one of his big projects. And what he really sees around this, the vision for it, is optimism around the environment. He feels that there's a lot of pessimism around it, and he really wants to sort of drive this optimism, take these ideas that people have, upscale them, find solutions, and really bring some positivity. And when you listen to him talk, he talks a lot about the future and future generations, children, grandchildren, and he says that that's why he's doing it. He wants to make a difference for the future generations.
Now, Ray, this is something you've spoken about a lot in your work. What sort of impact do you think it has, having someone like Prince William and the King, of course, who's been talking about this for decades now? You know, how impactful is it to have the royals involved in something like this?
It's massively important because firstly, they reach beyond politics and political fancy, and they are more enduring than politics. They're there for life. And to have royalty of the standing of the British royal family committed to environmental issues really makes a difference, particularly overseas. We perhaps are very familiar with it here, but overseas it makes a big difference. Particularly, I think the King's sympathy, empathy with indigenous communities is really important. He sees them not just as people who are struggling, but also people who have great wisdom to share with the world. And I agree with that. And I think that's amazing. And yeah, more power to it. We need more of that.
Yeah, and this is something, isn't it, Chris, that both the King and Prince William have really decided to take on board wholeheartedly because of just how important they see this. And Earthshot, as Ray has said, is hugely international. It's not just about what we consume and what we see here.
I think Ray makes a really interesting point there, and you know, one of the criticisms of monarchy is you never get to elect them out, of course, and you know, we've got campaign groups like Republic who want us to have an elected head of state. But we were talking to one of the finalists here. He's a London-based finalist. He didn't go on to win, but I'm sure, you know, Prince William's already bought one of his filters to go in his machine, and I can give you all the details of that if you want. But what he was saying was, you know, with politicians, everything's in a 4-year cycle, and they're always looking to the next election. And for example, Keir Starmer didn't give any money to Brazil for this sort of forest fund that they were trying to get all different countries to donate to. Whereas, you know, arguably some people say this isn't great for democracy, but arguably a king doesn't have to look at the election cycle. And as we all know, Prince Charles, as he then was, first started talking about environmentalism in the early 1970s, and it's something they can do that perhaps politicians just can't.
I think what's been interesting, Chris and I have been covering Earthshot for 5 years since it was first launched back in London. And the finalists that we've seen each year, they really have, the scale of them this year, I thought, I don't know about you, but I really thought that where they started and where they've got to, the ideas and have really expanded on quite an enormous scale.
I think it's absolutely brilliant that there's a prize that's about solutions. You know, we should be looking at the. We do obviously have to worry about the environment, but also there are opportunities there for industry, for growth, for things that can make a difference. And I think supporting solutions is a big part of the way forward.
And the thing about Brazil is it wasn't just about Prince William and the Earthshot Prize. He also flew to Berlin with Sir Keir Starmer for COP30. And Prince William used the words that we are edging dangerously close to tipping point. And he added that the threat of climate change is fast approaching. At what point, Ray, do we know that we've gone over the tipping point? I mean, will there be an obvious point in time where we have to start using different language where that's concerned?
I suspect we're already there, if I'm honest. I don't think anyone wants to really speak honestly about it. We live in a time when climate change is not on the political agenda. It's not a convenient thing for some countries to talk about, but it's something we are all going to have to talk about because it's coming, and it's coming to our doorstep soon. I think we need to take a shotgun approach. We need to be trying to reduce the problems and solve the issues, but we also need to be preparing to cope with the change that's going to come.
So, Chris, what kind of impact do you think it has having someone like Prince William rock up to COP30? I mean, you know, he's a huge global figure. We talk about soft power. Does it have a real world impact when he rocks up to things like this?
I think it does because, you know, we've been into so many continents with Earthshot now. It started in London and then North America, then Singapore, then South Africa, now South America. Now, I just think that, and the longer it goes on, the more people hear about it and know what a good thing it was. It just felt like everyone in Rio, you know, from the mayor of Rio down, had swung behind the whole thing, got round it, enjoyed having William here. They were quite proud to show off their city, and there's a lot of beautiful sights in Rio de Janeiro, not just the beaches, but the Christ the Redeemer, Sugarloaf Mountain, and the mangroves we saw. So, yeah, you know, when William comes to town, you know, people know it.
When you have someone like Prince William take on a cause like this in a place like this, where they've really given him the best welcome here, taken him to all the best sites. So you've got a figure like William, a picture-rich story talking about this issue. Suddenly it gets an awful lot of coverage and people are talking about it. And I think, you know, we talk a lot about what is the point in the royal family, what are they doing, what are they there for? And actually, when they think what they want is not for us to be talking about them and, you know, their private lives and what they're wearing. They want us to be talking about the issues that they're highlighting. And I think what you've seen this week is a really good example of that, where you have Prince William here highlighting an issue, and he's just had amazing pictures to be able to tell that story, whether it was at Christ the Redeemer, Sugarloaf Mountain, on the boats at the mangroves that we went to on Tuesday.
It's interesting that you talk about it being a picture-rich story, because there'll always be comparisons with both William and Harry of when they travel the world. The comparison will always be made of iconic pictures that involve their mother, Princess Diana. And for our archive, we always do an archive section on the show, Ray, and one of the archive pictures that we wanted to show today was hopefully a split screen of William at Christ the Redeemer and years gone by when his mother was also at Christ the Redeemer. And it's these sorts of iconic pictures, aren't they, Chris, that really track, that last the duration of time, that keep people talking about specific moments in time and the importance of things like Earthshot and COP.
Yeah, a lot was made of that picture, and actually it wasn't us in the press making it. It was Kensington Palace who first, made us aware of it and said that when he's up there, Prince William will stand in a similar spot to where his mother stood in 1991. Interestingly, I think Ray will like this, that both Prince Charles and Diana, this was before they announced their separation, were in Brazil. He was moored off Belém here, having a conference with other environmentalists on board the Royal Yacht Britannia. But clearly, Princess Diana felt like she didn't want to hang around for that one. But it just, again, it goes back to the point of how long the now king has been doing this kind of work and in this part of the world.
I think people very often underestimate just how well informed he is about all of these issues. That he is a real expert on these subjects, and I think when he was the prince, people had difficulty understanding that he wasn't just the prince. Actually, there's a brain there, and he's really intelligent and very well informed.
And it's something that William talks about to his father. He delivered a speech here at COP, and it was something that he went and he spoke to his father about. It was William's speech, but he shared it with his father in advance and got his thoughts. So I thought that was quite interesting. Obviously, you know, the idea of the environment and sustainability is a thread that has run through generations of the royal family, right back to the Duke of Edinburgh, and then obviously the King, and now William. And I imagine we'll probably see his own children taking on that baton.
It did make me wonder that when the first draft of the speech that William sent to his father, how much red pen came back from the King. I did ask the question at a press briefing that we had, and they said where there was no red pen. But you do wonder whether the King was saying, well, you know, this bit here, maybe you shouldn't. Yeah. Anyway, but it was William's speech, and he was delivering it on behalf of the King here at COP on the opening day.
Yeah, you can imagine that there are lots of sort of teenagers at school at the moment that are sat there going, oh yeah, it always happens every time I ask my parents to go through my work. And one thing we forgot to mention was Kylie made an appearance at Earthshot, didn't she?
Kylie Minogue, she did. Talk about getting in the big A-list stars.
Shawn Mendes as well.
Shawn Mendes, Kylie Minogue were the two
Ed Miliband
headline acts at this year's Earthshot, and we got to see Kylie arrive on the green carpet, not the red carpet for Earthshot, and then she performed. She was the closing act, and we were very lucky. We got to go in and watch.
I had a deep and meaningful conversation with Kylie as she arrived on the green carpet. I think it went something like, "Should Earthshot come to Australia next year?" She says, "Yes, wouldn't that be great?" So I've had a conversation with Kylie.
Do you know what I thought you were going to say is that she also said, and she hopes that Ray Mears is there, because Ray tells me that Kylie is a huge fan of yours.
Well, so I was told. Someone told me that. So I don't know. Yeah. It would be good if it went to Australia, and I think actually the Commonwealth has a great role to play in environmental issues. The Commonwealth, you know, for my trouble, is just the most extraordinary thing. I mean, we underestimate the power of the Commonwealth. I think every Commonwealth nation I've ever visited genuinely tries to make the world a better place, and that is really powerful.
And of course, that's an impact that Prince William the King can have. And
Yeah.
I know that you were not too long ago with indigenous communities alongside the royal family. And one thing that you consistently talk about is the importance of that interaction and working alongside indigenous communities.
It's really important. It's you know, all around the world, indigenous people have been treated as a lesser form of humanity, and actually they're custodians of wisdom to do with environmental issues that we all desperately need. And the royal family, particularly the King, is extremely good at listening and elevating them, and that's a tremendous thing.
Now, if gossip magazines are to be believed, Chris and Lizzie, Harry slightly overshadowed his brother's efforts this week by rocking up in Canada.
So there was an announcement earlier this week that Prince Harry was going to travel to Canada for a couple of days in support of the Canadian Armed Forces and their veteran community. We know that's something, you know, Harry has done a lot of work in this sphere all around the world, so that's not unusual. However, the announcement came just as Prince William was stepping foot onto Sugarloaf Mountain for his first engagement in Rio during the Earthshot Prize. So there was some raised eyebrows about the timing of that, and or was it dropped out to try and overshadow his brother. We have asked Prince Harry's team why they chose that timing. They said that this has been something that's been in the works for about a year, and they had no choice basically over the timing of it, and that they did consult and give Buckingham Palace and Royal Communications a heads up in advance of putting out their operational notes about Harry's engagements.
But if they worked together a little bit better, those two brothers, then things like this may be less likely to happen. But that's a whole other story. Let's move on to the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, because he's been asked to appear before Congress in America. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, if Harry wasn't overshadowing this trip, then Andrew was. But do you know what, though, as we spoke about last week, one of the reasons why Buckingham Palace rushed out that announcement and did it in such a fulsome way as they did a week ago now, it was to put some distance between the monarchy's brand and whatever might happen in the future with Prince Andrew. And guess what? The former Prince Andrew. And guess what? Something has happened with the former Prince Andrew, and that the House Oversight Committee in Washington, D.C. has written to him formally saying, we would like you to give us an official interview about what you did or didn't know about Jeffrey Epstein. So, you know, it's wrong to say it overshadowed what William was doing here, but it explains why the palace wanted that distance between everything. And as we now know, the letter that came from the House Oversight Committee was addressed to Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor at Royal Lodge, which will soon be his former residence.
So this letter has come from Congress. Are we likely to see any kind of public response to that from former Prince Andrew?
Oh, very good question. I mean, they've given him 15 days to respond. Whether or not he will do so, we don't know. We obviously asked his office and haven't had a response yet. And Prince Andrew has always denied all the allegations made against him by Virginia Giuffre. That said, we don't know what the House Oversight Committee in DC will do if Andrew Mountbatten Windsor doesn't reply and doesn't adhere to that timescale that they've set.
Well, if something does happen, of course, it'll be something that we will talk about here on this show. Ray, considering all the environmental work you do and all the survivalist programmes that you make, I'm really surprised that you're not Sir Ray Mears as yet. Do you feel as though that's going to be in your future?
I shouldn't think so. I mean, I just do my work. I think for that, you've got to do something really extraordinary.
But someone who has done great work is Sir David Beckham, who was knighted this week. And we've all seen the footage of that moment in which he was knighted. But Chris and Lizzie, were you aware of what music was being played by the string quartet in the room as that moment happened? Well, if you haven't, let's take a listen. Anybody with a kid who has watched K-pop Demon Hunters over and over and over again, I think it would be quite emotional at that moment. That, for anyone who doesn't know, is Golden from the K-pop Demon Hunters movie. And the question I want to ask is, do the recipients get to choose what music plays? Because, of course, Sir David Beckham was also known as Golden Balls. Is that the connection?
That's a really good question, actually. And I was just thinking, because you know what, the palace are very good at sort of choosing moments or symbols or visuals or, as you say, in this case, music, to amplify something like David Beckham's knighthood. Not that it needs any amplification, because obviously everyone was going to do the story in any case. I wondered when, of course, Ray gets his knighthood, as he's going to, what music he would like played.
No idea, but I do think it was long overdue for David Beckham to receive that honour. I think that's wonderful. Worldwide, he has been such a great force around the world. He's been an ambassador for Britain. You don't realise until you travel and you see his impact. And I'm not a football fan, but I have to say, when I did watch him playing with England, he was a really good captain, and he handled the press better than the managers. So I think it's long overdue. And I hope that he will use that to go on and do incredible things.
Well, I tell you what.
And of course, he does a lot of work with the King's Foundation as well, and as you know, is now embedded with many of the King's charities. And we see him on his Instagram account keeping bees and growing vegetables. I mean, who'd have thought?
Yeah, him and the King have actually got a lot in common, and they've grown quite close over the last few years. As Chris mentions, they both keep bees, and David Beckham is now an ambassador for the King's Foundation. We've seen him at state banquets, we've seen him at a dinner at Highgrove ahead of the Italian state visit. So yeah, the pair of them have grown quite close over the last few years.
I just think it's just like the most beautiful royal sporting bromance that they've built with each other is pretty epic.
I think it really, in many ways, sums up the strength of the monarchy. The monarchy reaches beyond politics. It reaches the people, and he is a people's champion, and they recognise that. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, Ray, you are going to bear witness to this. I'm going to make a request from Chris and from Lizzie. I'm laying down the gauntlet. Okay. I want Sir David Beckham on this show at some point, talking about his work with the King's Foundation.
That's a good idea.
Okay, leave it with us.
Well, you asked me to get Eugene Levy, and I succeeded, as you will recall. So let's take it one step higher.
There we go. I've laid down the gauntlet. I've given you the challenge. Now, finally, I'm going to show some... it's very interesting and pretty lovely footage, actually, of Queen Camilla at Clarence House alongside Spud Man. There she is. This is Spud Man, who... Well, the clue's in the name. He is well known. I think about 2 million followers across all his socials. He is known for creating the most incredible baked potatoes, which our international audience probably sat there thinking, what on earth is a spud? Well, it's what we tend to call baked potatoes. So what exactly was Queen Camilla up to with Spud Man?
Or now Spud Ma'am, we could have.
Oh, Spud Man.
Lizzie should work for The Sun and do headlines for a tabloid newspaper.
What was she doing? She was at Clarence House hosting a reception for the Royal Voluntary Service, of which she is a patron. But she's always, actually all of them are, they're always happy to kind of get stuck in and, they know, I was talking earlier about the power of a picture. They know that if they don an apron and get into the trailer and start serving potatoes, that's going to make a picture, and then you're shining a light on the cause, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
And Camilla, more than any of the others, is the one who's really up for it. She doesn't mind at all. Others sometimes look a bit reticent to sort of roll their sleeves up and get involved. Camilla, never. She's right in there, always happy to take part.
I know, and that's why the public enjoys spending time with her. And for anyone that wasn't aware, a tuna mayo spud is one of her favourites, and also one of mine.
Don't we all love a spud?
So, Chris and Lizzie, you've still got a bit of work to do. Are you going to be back with me in the studio next week?
We are, and we will be bringing something that we have yet to purchase, but I'm sure there's a shop here somewhere. If not, there's always a shop at the airport.
Oh, I love that you're putting so much work into bringing me back something glorious and well thought out.
Yeah.
But as long as you don't bring me back creepy crawlies,
no
I'll be
leeches.
happy.
No,
Perhaps we shouldn't have done any news today and said, sorry, we can't file for any of our bulletins because we're hunting for a present for Charlene. Let's see how that goes down with the editor.
Finally, you've realised just how important I am in this whole setup of ours. Well, look, for the both of you, I've missed you loads being in the studio, and I can't wait for you to come back next week. And to you, Ray, it's been such a pleasure having you in the studio.
It's been lovely.
And as we've said to all of our guests, you will be welcome back anytime. Thank you. And that's it from now. From us for now, you can hear Talking Royals every week by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. And make sure you have a look back through our back catalogue for a whole range of royal topics. But whilst you do that, we'll see you next week.